Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com to go inside the zone with us to talk Komets hockey. Blake Sebring on the News Sentinel, Glenn Marini from Wayne TV. And Blake, one good thing about this past week, everybody's rested because they actually got to play 3 consecutive games at home, starting off this very long 7-game homestand. Talk a little bit about what you saw this week, specifically on Wednesday night, because I don't want to put you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket when it's Toledo because there's extra emphasis because of where they are in the standings. But you would have liked to have won that one.
You know what? I thought that was one of the better games of the season. I mean, you know, both teams, they were both missing 6, 7 players each, but you really couldn't tell. I mean, the skill level was different, obviously, but they were going at it. I mean, I thought both teams played extremely hard. I just thought it was a really good hockey game, and there's no shame in, you know, losing in a shootout in that one when it was 1-0 and the goalies both stood on their head.
Yeah, a real playoff type atmosphere, a real playoff in terms of how difficult it was to score. I mean, the 2 goals came within 40 seconds of each other in regulation at the end of the second period. So is that a good primer? Is that a good preview of what we're going to see if these 2 teams do meet in the playoffs, what you can expect?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
I'll tell you why, is because they're such offensive teams, and they both believe that they are the best offensive team. And so they like to run and gun. And they can run and gun, both of them together, so it's like, well, I'm not backing down. I'm not going to play just strictly go defense. You know, I mean, that's why that game was so odd with those 2, because every other game has been racehorse up and down and goalies standing on their heads, and the goalies stood on their heads, but the offense wasn't there because some of the skill guys weren't there. But the overall quality and intensity was really there.
On Friday, Saturday, Gwinnett comes to town. The Komets beat them in both games by 1 goal. What did you see in those 2 games against that Gwinnett team?
Some of the same. I mean, when you realize that Saturday night the Komets didn't have any NHL or AHL affiliated players at all. I mean, when you think about what those guys have meant to this team this year, and there's not one on the ice, and they're still winning, even though they were down 2-0 to start. They didn't panic. They just kind of chipped away at it, and different guys stepped up again. Brock Higgs and Christian Ouellette, and I mean, it's just Cody Soul with the blast. I mean, it's just fascinating to me how there's somebody different every night, and they don't panic. And, we talked 2 months ago about how you kind of wonder if they were ever going to win a 3-2, 2-1 game, and then they go do it. I mean, I know it was Gwinnett, but they got some really good players. Piero Zabatel is just awesome. I mean, he's just such an awesome offensive player, and that line is really, really good. And their goaltending, I thought, was really solid. And it was obvious that they were into the game, too, the Gladiators, because it was really chippy and pretty dirty in some respects. And then they go out Sunday and get blown out 12-0. It's like, yeah, you could tell they mailed it in by then.
Well, their legs probably had to be shot by then.
Well, yeah, 4 road games in 5 days.
Right.
Yeah, I mean.
And against some pretty good competition.
Yeah.
One of the new faces that you got a chance to see Friday night, J.M. Risk, obviously very familiar with what he brings to Fort Wayne. What does his addition mean for this Komets team?
Well, he allows you to survive not having Paul Crowder in the lineup right now and Eric Fye not in the lineup right now, because he's a natural center, can win faceoffs. We all know he's very good defensively. He's always been good defensively. And he can chip in with maybe 5 to 10 goals now from the rest of the year. He's a little bit out of shape right now, but because he hasn't been playing. But I thought by Saturday night he looked a lot better than he did on Friday night. I mean, so it's going to come. And knowing JM, he'll just bust his butt until he gets in shape. And he's going to get a lot of ice time. We know that because there's not a whole lot of centers left.
Well, I mean, he scores in his first period back with the Komets. Is that indicative of everything that we're going to be seeing hopefully down the stretch?
I thought that was funny about that is he had the exact same setup like the shift before, and he missed it. He tried to go 5-hole and missed. And then he had the exact same setup. I mean, Mbach passing it to him and everything. And the next time he went top shelf and scored. And it's like, I mean, JM's a smart hockey player. And right now, that might be what they need more than anything. It's just another smart hockey player who can do a little bit of everything, is very conscientious in the defensive zone, and he can just play, and doesn't have to rethink everything and then wonder, am I doing what's right in the system? No, he knows the system.
When we're talking about personnel, a big announcement today. We're taping this at 3:30 on Monday afternoon, but Pat Nagle headed back up to the AHL, headed to Utica. Obviously, we saw him up a few weeks with Grand Rapids, and that meant different things in the goal for the Komets. What do you think that means, and is there any way to even guesstimate how long he might be gone? Because he is such a big part of the Komets' success this season.
Well, who thought Eric Fye would be gone 24 games later? I mean, who thought Sidlowski would be gone essentially 15 games right now, except for the 2-game trip to Orlando? You just never know. I mean, it's, again, the priority of the ECHL is not the ECHL fans, it's the AHL. And that's all there is to it, and you just kind of roll with it. And I think the Komets have done a really good job of just rolling with it. Whoever's there, that's who they're going with, and that's who they tailor their game plan after, and it's working right now. I can't believe they're 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. That just blows me away when you consider who's not here. And it's like, but you ask them, and it's like, so, I mean.
Business as usual.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, new guys come in, and they just fit in. I mean, it's because they just fit in. And it's like, fine, do what you're supposed to do. We'll take care of the rest of it.
And when you break down more of the numbers, I mean, you take a look at their road record, 19-7-1. I believe on the road this season, best record in the ECHL, win away from home.
It's better than that.
Is it what maybe my numbers are off?
No, your numbers are fine. It's the best road record in all of hockey right now. How nuts is that? I mean, it's better than anybody in the NHL, the AHL, the ECHL, or the SPHL. How crazy is that? 19-7-1. And they have a chance to get to 25 road wins if they, it's insane. I mean, that is nuts in this day and age.
How do they make that work? Because that is a crazy number. How do they have such success on the road?
I think they play games like they did Friday, Saturday. They're so hyper-focused when they go on the road. There's fewer distractions. The goalies know they got to step up. They don't get as many penalties on the road. That's obvious, another thing. So they don't give up as many power play chances. But they're just rock solid on the road. They trust the system and they just play it.
As far as this team goes, talk a little bit about what we can expect this week, because it's a week very similar to last. You've got a midweek game, a Wednesday home game, and then Friday, Saturday at home. Obviously, different teams. You got Evansville coming in. So what are you really looking forward to about this week? Because in some ways, it's a repeat of last week.
Yeah, it really is. You know what? I don't think you change anything. I mean, obviously, you're going to change a couple things. Pat's not going to be there. CJ is not going to be there. He's going to be out for a while, coming up here pretty soon. So James Harrison will go in, and they'll just keep rolling it like they have been. I mean, I think what was interesting this week, too, was you look at the guys who stepped up in different roles. Matt Krug on the power play. He was amazing this weekend. He put out 2 guys with clean hits against Gwinnett, and he just played. I mean, he had a bigger role, and he earned it, and he made the most of it. Look at Kyle Thomas. Doesn't play a lot in the first or second periods, but my gosh, when he comes in the third, he's firing on all over the place, and he's picking the whole team up by it. I mean, he's going out and hitting and just hustling, and it's like he just picks up the whole team. A lot of the guys are doing that, little things like that.
And one of the guys that I think there's a lot of intrigue, questions surrounding his health would be Paul Crowder.
Yeah.
The Komets put him on the 21-day IR last week. He obviously missed, I think it was 24-ish games because of the high ankle sprain. In any sport, that's a tricky injury, specifically in hockey. So what's the timetable for him? Because when he has been back, it hasn't taken him long to make an immediate impact. You realize he's on the ice.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they know. And I don't think Paul knows right now. I mean, I've heard anywhere from 4 to 7 weeks. Well, 7 weeks is the end of the season, and then playoffs start. And if that's what it takes, I think they'll be fine sitting him out until then if that's what it takes to get it healed. He re-injured his high ankle sprain again. And high ankle sprains are kind of like concussions. Well, you think you got an idea when it might be better, but it's the head injury and you don't really know until it's better. Kind of same thing with his ankle. I mean, high ankle sprains are just awful. Normal ankle sprain, you roll it under. High ankle sprains, you roll it the other way. And you'd be better off sometimes if you just broke it. It would heal quicker.
Yeah. Very tricky injury. When you take a look at the standings now, the Komets in first place in the Eastern Conference. So they are, although some teams behind them still have games to make up, they're sitting in the catbird seat right now.
Yeah.
How do you make sure? I guess I don't think Gary's going to let it get to their heads. They're not really thinking about it. If you know Gary, it's not going to be a problem.
You know what? If you know them, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Because they won't let that happen either.
Right. But going through the rest of the season, how do you approach that? How do you make sure that doesn't change? Because
you don't
obviously
worry about it.
You want home ice. Even though they're so good on the road, you still want home ice.
You don't worry about it. You just go, okay, Wednesday. And then there's Wednesday. And then I got to worry about Wednesday. That's all they're doing. I mean, it's so funny. After the games you've been in there, you ask Gary about, well, what about the next game? He's like, well, can I just enjoy this one for like a half hour? You know what I mean? And then I haven't even thought about it. And he honestly, half the time, I'm sure subconsciously he's thought about it, but the rest of the time he hasn't even looked at it. You know, I mean, he's so focused on the game at hand, and he's got everybody else to buy into that they don't even look ahead.
Well, my question, they compartmentalize
They do.
the games very well. Is that a lot different than when the Komets were winning championships with Al Sims? Is that a real different approach?
Not really, no. Because, like we've shown today, Pat's gone. CJ's going to have knee surgery. He's gone. You can't worry about 2 days from now. You got to worry about tomorrow. Because in this league, something happens, the ever-changing hockey league, something changes day to day. So it doesn't do you any good to look ahead. It just doesn't. It's kind of pointless. It's wasted energy.
Final question. What are you looking forward to? We always talk about the first period.
Hey, and we got 0-0 Wednesday, didn't we?
And it was good hockey.
It was great hockey.
This Wednesday, you got the Komets taking on Evansville, taking on Al Sims. We've seen him now a couple times already at the Coliseum. But what are you expecting to see as they kind of bust out of the gates Wednesday in 3 very winnable games this week?
I tell you what, I'm looking forward to seeing how Rowan Will keeps playing. I mean, he's on fire right now. And he doesn't do anything fancy. He's not making the extra special saves, but he's just there. I mean, he's anticipating it that well. He's just there to block the puck and cover up, and that's it. I mean, he's slowed the game down. He's doing great. I want to see how much further he can take it. I mean, we got to remember this kid's a 22-year-old kid who just came to North America from Czechoslovakia. I mean, he's still learning to adjust to the smaller rinks and the different style of play. I mean, he just gets better each week. I'm really interested to see how he does.
They wish his different statisticians would give him 46 saves, but that's a whole other story, a whole other show, a whole other topic.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, we've seen the Komets enough. Does anybody really believe they gave up 46 shots in a game?
This is true.
I mean,
this is true.
come on.
We'll have to go back to the videotape. But that is something for maybe next week or further on and Inside the Zone. But for this week, he's Blake, I'm Glenn. We'll be talking Komets hockey again back on next Monday. We'll see you.